Everyone, welcome to Hck4G-From podcast. I am your host, Sammy Chucks. Hopefully you guys can hear me. We do apologize for starting a bit later. I am trying to figure out this whole technology that I've got set up here. But we've got an interesting guest today. Well, wouldn't it be nice, Seb, if you're the one actually hosting this, right?
Maybe
means
one
I have to sit back. I'll sit back and relax while you go through the pain. But I'm super excited to have you all here. If this is the first time you're watching us, well, that is probably because it's the first ever Hck4G-Con podcast that you're ever going to be seeing. And then from here, we're probably going to be doing some incredible work. So if you're wondering who I am, my name is Sammy Chucks. I am the founder of Hck4G and the Link Group. At Hck4G, our mission is quite simple. We want to disrupt the global cybercrime syndicate by empowering young people in underserved communities and untapped regions globally with the job-ready cybersecurity skills that is required to be able to make better choices in life, right? So we are the organization that is fighting to defend the human side of cybersecurity that no one talks about, to ensure that young people in these sort of regions can start to, let me double check. I think people are watching on YouTube, but nothing is happening on LinkedIn. So guys, just give me a second. I think something might be wrong with the LinkedIn one.
I can see it online. I think we're good.
We're good on LinkedIn? Not sure why it's not happening for me. Oh, okay, there you go. I can see it now. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. Forget you ever heard that, guys. All right, I'm super excited because we have literally the man himself, right? The ultimate cool dude, Seb, here. I think for those who don't know Seb, I'm sure you're going to get to know about him and where he works at. We're going to be talking about all things, Hck4G-Con that is coming up on the 13th. From the 13th to the 15th of November 2025, and the theme of the year is Hack of No Nation. So if you're not aware of what's going on there, definitely wait and tune in. All through this, you're going to hear a lot more about it. And I'm not sure if those online actually heard any of that nice, cool music that I had, that nice, cool action music that I had going on. I am trying out this new too, and I think it's pretty cool so far. So we're going to see how this rolls. All right, cool. So a quick introduction about Seb. So Seb is the the director of content and training at Security Blue Team, which most people call SBT for short. In case you don't know who SBT is, I'm pretty sure you've probably heard one of their premier cybersecurity certification called the Blue Team's Level 1, so the BTL 1 or the BTL 2. Like literally, they've just dropped another one, which is the Junior Threat Detection Engineer certification. So I'm sure Seb is going to be sharing a lot about that with us shortly. But Seb is actually quite widely known in the cybersecurity industry as Seb 24. Is a prominent figure within the information security community, or if you will, cybersecurity community, with extensive experience across the cybersecurity industry across defensive security, offensive, leading IR, incident response. For those who don't know what that is highly regarded as a specialist in these areas and these practices. And Sebastian he plays a pivotal role in shaping the strategic direction of cybersecurity upskilling within the Security Blue Team organization. He also actively leads the development, curation, and delivery of high-quality, engaging content designed to empower cybersecurity professionals, equipping them with the practical knowledge and defensive skills necessary to tackle modern cybersecurity effectively. Dude, that's a mouthful. Seriously, you must be paying your I don't know, your media team pretty good money to write this for you. I'm going. It keeps going. Well, Security Blue Team delivers practical, affordable cybersecurity training designed to prepare professionals for the real world. So they build cybersecurity professionals for actual cybersecurity jobs with hands-on operational scenario sharpening tactics and modules and courses and certifications that obviously builds confidence from day one if you're someone who's wanting to step into cybersecurity or grow your career in cybersecurity. Their training environment allows teams to stay ahead of threat. Again, this is obviously what we're going to be talking about today. How do you stay above the threat landscape, at the bleeding edge of the threat landscape, and become, 2 steps or 3 steps ahead of the adversary, right? So if you wanted to obviously upskill yourself and and stay sharp within the cyber industry, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of the certifications that is available at the Security Blue Team organization. And the best part of it is that they are actually our partner as well, and they are a platinum sponsor of the Hack for Good Con that is coming up on the 15th of November. These guys are pretty awesome. They've actually decided to sponsor us and give away a bunch of certifications. So if you have not already registered for the CTF, the virtual international level CTF that is being played across Australia, the Asia Pacific, Africa, and America as well, the US of A, definitely go and register. I believe we do have a few teams that are going to be coming from the UK. So to register, go to ctf.hck4g.org. You are required to create a team, so you can either create a team or join a team with a maximum of 5 people in a team and a minimum of 3 people in a team. Don't ask me why there's a cap on it. It's just because if you win, we got to actually figure out a way to give you the prize that you won. Well, Sam, I think I've given you a pretty, I don't know if I've given you, a worthy enough introduction, but is there anything that I've missed, or, what can you, I guess, tell us, what does a day in the life of the director of content and training at Security Blue Team look like, mate?
I mean, you probably made me sound too good, so I hope I don't disappoint people listening right now. I mean, yeah, you covered what SBT or Security Blue Team do quite nicely. We have 2 major platforms, which is our e-learning platform, which we're most known for, things like the Blue Team Level 1. And the way I like to describe the way we build content is we have 2 bits of content, really. We have exploratory content, or like adventurous mode within our Blue Team Labs online platform. A brief shout out to Trick or Threat, which is our Halloween event that we still have ongoing right now.
Nice.
So please,
Spooky.
if you're listening, take part in that. And it's probably good practice for the Hack for Good CTF. And then we have our learning platform, which is our certifications. So we have our 4 sort of pillar certifications right now. We have the Blue Team Level 1, Blue Team Level 2, the Operations Manager or Security Operations Manager, and of course our very recent release certification, the Certified Junior Detection Engineer. Thank you for the screen share. Yeah, so they're what we have right now.
I figured I would support your hustle.
Yeah. I mean, without overselling, I always like to start with, I guess, the problem I know Josh was trying to solve. And Josh is our CEO and founder, who we're very lucky to have a CEO who essentially knows the industry, has worked in the industry, and is also technical. So that's always very beneficial. So he sort of understands what we do. But essentially, years and years ago, Josh saw a massive space in the market. The market was flooded with just really expensive and, I guess, if I'm really honest, average certifications, often delivered by. Do not
start to pick up a fight, my friend. I'm literally gonna walk away and leave you alone to this.
No, they weren't practical. I remember when I entered the industry, the only real practical certification that existed with an exam where you're testing your knowledge in a practical environment and doing the job. It was the OSCP. That was the sort of the go. I guess is and the OG of practical certifications. And Josh saw a massive gap in the market, a gap to give more back to the community. And he went away and he built the Blue Team Level 1. And I was introduced to this when they wanted the exam build. Myself, Josh, and someone called Elliot worked on the exam build over a very late night together and delivered what was the first genuine, practical, and affordable Blue Team certification in industry. I couldn't give you a time when that happened. It was years and years ago. But yeah, here we are now with 4 certifications out. The first detection engineering certification in industry. And still platforming the whole idea of practical labs and practical solutions. And essentially just doing the job. When people ask me, well, how do you build content? I go, it's not that complex. We build realistic environments, we compromise them, and we get you to perform the tasks that you would do day to day. So fundamentally, the process we take isn't that complex. But yeah, that's what we do at Security Blue Team. They're the certifications we have. A day in the life of Seb.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I was before you go into that. Like, I think one of the things that I admire about Josh. By the way, guys, just before I jump into that, you can actually contribute to this, guys. So this is definitely not a captive audience situation. So you can get part of the conversation, and you obviously 100% going to get a shout out from myself and Seb here. So a shout out to you, Raya. Great, for you to tune in. We also have Hussam. So, dude. You're an absolute gem. Like, I think you were in Saudi Arabia. So great catching up with you, my friend, quite recently. We also have, obviously, our YouTube channel as well for those who are watching on YouTube. So definitely feel free to jump in on YouTube, comment your thoughts. And also, we are going to have some space for you to ask Seb some questions, right? I'm sure there's probably a few things that I'm going to miss as we continue on with the conversation. So definitely add your contribution. Add it may be a dad or a mom joke in the comment, one or two there. I don't know. I just have to make sure that I keep that, keep the equality there, right? Mom and dad jokes. But yeah, so like one of the things I absolutely love about Josh's journey is the fact that even while he was building Security Blue Team, and you're right, like, before now, and the cybersecurity industry was pretty much riddled with a lot of, gate-kept certifications or training, whether that be intentional or unintentionally. Some of the training obviously going as expensive at $10,000 to be able to do it, a training without having to name names. So, and I think you're absolutely spot on when you said that Josh saw that space in the market to help democratize the cybersecurity, industry and bring in more skilled individuals. Obviously, those who are neither either neurodiverse or everyday people. I've seen people moved from the nursing profession, sommeliers, bricklayers, carpenters move into cybersecurity, and you see these people and you wonder how incredible is it to see that they can actually perform. And what I often find is such people are actually really good at what they do because they bring a lot of different life skills into the conversation. So I know Josh started his career, as a cybersecurity analyst and sort of did that for quite a long time before, even while he was building Security Blue Team, before he decided to sort of step out and do this full time. So I'm not sure if he's actually told you guys the amount of stress, but what did it feel like working full time and still building Security Blue Team?
Well, I mean, I'm well aware that Josh was busy way back when. The conversations I had with Josh were essentially like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how it's possible for you to like work full time, run the company, initially build all the labs as part of the course. And I hate the grind mentality. I'll be honest with you, Sammy. I hate like this the LinkedIn nonsense grind mentality. But as close as possible to get in there, I think Josh somewhat had that when building it. I think when you're passionate about something as well, it can sort of like take up a lot of the time in your life. And I think he has the benefit as well of like he enjoys what he does, and I think
that is always a plus.
For everyone on the call today, people who do know me know that one thing I don't like on places like social media and LinkedIn, and when people say that you have to be passionate about cybersecurity, it helps. Like being passionate about being a doctor, being passionate about being a mechanic, it helps. Your ceiling is higher, but you don't have to be passionate. But when you are passionate, I do believe your ceiling increases, and the amount of time you might put into something definitely increases. If you get those endorphins and that serotonin from doing the work. My theory is that Josh is so passionate about doing this that he wanted to bring something to industry that was game changing. He did. It was successful, and we're in a position now where SBT has grown up to 50 people, and we're able to deliver much more.
That's huge,
and yeah, at a much larger scale, which is really nice.
That's awesome. Like, I think, when I reached out to you guys and said, hey, let's partner, even though we're competitors, like it was quite audacious, but I knew that Josh was the kind of guy, like, I think the way you just described him is absolutely spot on. But without diving too deep into the org itself, guys, if you do need to do any of the Security Blue Team certification, you can actually get that from our partner as well, Silink.com, by just going to the certification. So we are an official partner of Security Blue Team. So you can find all of those certifications with us as well, and you can purchase that. So anyways, that's my shameless plug there. Now that we've kind of covered that aspect of it, like what I'm really curious about is the cybersecurity space, like, the education space. And there is no doubt that, AI is obviously disrupting things quite a lot. And it makes sense for us to sort of, talk a little bit about, what you guys are seeing and what you think the future of cybersecurity is. Now, I know there's obviously the second conversation which we're going to step into, which is how do we ensure that we bring people in underserved communities and untapped regions globally on that journey. But before we go into that region, what are you guys seeing within the cybersecurity space? With regards to education, what does the future of cyber look like? And how will AI disrupt, or I think the way I put it is this a boom or bust? What do we have here?
AI. I don't know where to start.
It's like if I have to hear AI one more time.
Yeah, I was at InfoSec. I was at InfoSec earlier this year, and I was at Gartner as well. And Lord knows, like every single vendor stand you see, it's just AI. I want to make it really clear: if you're just hitting an API, that's not AI. Like you're just using OpenAI. But I'll start off with, I guess, underserved communities. I know that's something you're passionate about, Sammy, isn't it? I have the benefit of when I entered the industry. A bit of background: I joined the Royal Air Force. I started off very traditionally. Went through sort of like network engineering, system administration, learnt the basics. A little unknown fact about me that a lot of people don't realise is I was actually pants when I first joined. I was baggage. I was really bad. I wasn't interested. I was really, really bad at my job.
Well, now that makes two of us, right? although I wouldn't say I was bad at it, because I was getting into the wrong side of things.
But you were still technically competent. I wasn't competent when I first entered. And something clicked after probably a couple of years in, and maybe I took more interest in it. And I think what that does show, like from the off, is a sweet plug to you need to be engaged. Like I didn't feel engaged initially. Training wasn't too good. When I got more hands-on, after some time, things started to make much more sense. Like I went through trade training in the Air Force, and I was struggling. I was failing exams left, right, and centre. Like straight up, I was not very good. But when something clicked,
that's awesome.
The learning curve was massive. I wanted to learn. I started to enjoy learning, and I started to take notice of things. And then I went into, honestly, my first cybersecurity role was potluck. Someone walked into we had cages on the hangar floor in the Air Force where all our networking deployed equipment was. And I remember my boss Richie came in and said, "Who knows Linux?" And I was like, a little bit. And I was like, "Okay, perfect. Right, you and you two are going down to a place called Caution. And you are going to essentially learn how to do cybersecurity." And they gave us a week there, which in hindsight isn't enough time to learn cybersecurity. We got there, and there was this expensive box with a Cisco firepower in it, loads of servers, an Endace. We did a week there.
A kid in a candy store, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And we did a week there, and they were like, "Oh, by the way, you're taking this back up north, and you are going to be our deployed cyber protection team." And I was like, "What? Oh, wow." And I didn't realise how big that was. So it was a baptism of fire, which was really, really nice. In hindsight, I think I learned loads and loads whilst I was there. And from that day onwards, we ended up setting up a deployed security operations team. The team still functions now, I think, with between 15 to 20 people on it within the Royal Air Force. And that was how I essentially entered the industry. Now, if I didn't go that route, and if I was in an underprivileged community, I don't know how I would be an entrant sort of 8-9 years ago. I don't know what I would have done to start. And there were resources out there. There were resources like Over the Wire and VulnHub. But there wasn't anything. Now we have a wealth of platforms.
There's a lot of good resources out there.
We have Hack the Box, we have Try Hack Me, the Pwn Labs. There's so many platforms that exist out there now, and that just wasn't the case 9 years ago. So I think we've probably come some way forward now on having more affordable platforms that can serve underprivileged communities, and it's about expanding the access to them, making sure it is affordable, making sure it's engaging, making sure there's different types of learning styles that you can cater to. Is probably the important bit.
Yeah, and I think you're quite right. There was a statement you made, which is passion in cybersecurity is not something that just happened. You don't have to be passionate about cybersecurity. I think I do disagree with you in some way. Surprise, surprise, we disagree in some things, but I also do, I also do agree with you in a lot of ways. I do think that, when you have passion in cyber, things become a lot easier for you. And hearing your story, that seemed like what actually happened. All of a sudden you grew passionate, right? And then from there, things kind of began to sort of, pace up. What I have noticed is that typically when people start out their career, it makes no sense to ask them to become passionate in cybersecurity. All I do ask people to do is to have curiosity, because as long as you're curious enough, you're going to tinker one day enough to be able to go, oh, that was cool. And before you know it, you start doing some cool things and start to grow. And then that passion grows. I think I was having a chat with, this guy, Alex from Two Doors. And this is exactly what we talked about as well, how, passion comes after curiosity. You got to be curious. You got to want to know, that's a bit weird. What's going on there? How can I, dive a little bit deeper into this? So, like, absolutely spot on what you've said. On the point of the underprivileged, I typically like to call them underserved, not necessarily underprivileged, because I genuinely believe that for those who know my story, that a lot of the times there's just lack of awareness of the resources that does exist. Hello, little fairy friend. there's a lot of lack of awareness of the resources that do exist, and in most cases, even if it's affordable, it's not accessible. Like, I'll give you an example. Like most smaller emerging nations, especially that have a history of cybercrime, don't have basic things like PayPal. Don't exist. Stripe does not exist, right? So if you're asking someone to pay for a course in USD or in pounds, you might think, oh, this course is affordable, but in actual sense, it's not accessible, even though it might be affordable, right? Because before they can purchase that course, especially in these sort of regions where the government actually control, the availability of dollar or the euro or the pounds. So that's also what we're seeing as well. But, I think what I did find out in my story, and why I went down the wrong pathway is that there was a lot of lack of awareness, a lot of lack of, guidance and support around that community, that I grew up in. Again, if you guys want to hear my story in full, you definitely want to go buy your ticket for Hck4G-Con 2025 Hack of No Nation at RMIT University. And we are going to have an SBT Security Blue Team stand there. With some swags to give away. You guys know us. There's a lot of goodies out there to give away. And there's a lot of other vendors as well who are also sponsoring the movement to disrupt cybercrime. So basically, Seb, what actually happened for me was, without going too deep, because I want people to actually come on that day and hear the story, is that before I knew it, because I could not afford any of the training or even had awareness of what trainings were available at, like something as simple as Over the Wire. I did not know about Over the Wire until this year. Like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy how much lack of awareness, lack of knowledge of something existing can be a massive hindrance for people in underserved communities. But yeah, sorry, you had a thing to say.
If I didn't know Over the Wire, I wouldn't be able to function on Linux. I can say that for a fact. And there's no way. I don't think I could have stayed engaged just using Arch or something. So full respect to you for learning without a platform like that.
Well, I learned on the dark web. That's just a different. That's great. Look, shout out to the team at overthewire.org. You guys do incredible work. So it's worth mentioning that you have literally, single-handedly lifted a lot of, incredible people like Seb within the cybersecurity industry and giving them hands-on, Linux knowledge to actually be able to functionally use Linux and not just know that it exists. So it's great. So I guess for my story, like, one thing led to another. I went down the dark way. Once I found my way into the dark web, it was pretty much over. I was using I don't know if you remember this, Seb, the Nokia Symbian phone.
Yep.
I had the Nokia Symbian phone, and that was what I was using to, to commit a lot of carnage. And before I knew it, I was doing things like, again, without going too much into the story, guys, I know you want me to tell the story here, but this is not the place of the story, right? Before I knew it, I was doing things like piracy, selling cracks for softwares, and and then before I knew it, I got invited to join the cyber syndicate proper, right? Without going a bit, obviously, like I said, without going too much into it, right? I'm kind of trying to get you guys to buy a ticket if you haven't quite realized.
Buy a ticket, people. I want to hear more.
Buy a ticket. And that story and that journey kind of, led me down that pathway, because there was actually no one there who could say, hey, Sammy, I can see that you're super passionate, that you're super interested in this stuff. Here's how you can actually build a career out of this. Like, I literally did not know that you could actually build a career as a hacker. Like, I didn't even know there was such a thing as doing that. Now, obviously, a lot of this is changing, but there is still a lot of lack of awareness and education around what sort of capabilities you can build and how that can be profitable from a legitimate point of view, right? And this is exactly what we're seeing in underserved communities and untapped regions, is that someone in Ghana or in Nigeria or Kenya might be really good at doing, like hacking, or they've spent their time on Hack4G, but they haven't quite really learned how to actually gain hands-on, job-ready skills that can get them into a job. So my question for you is, given what I've just described to you, how is Security Blue Team, working hard to sort of ensure that accessibility, first of all, is something that is available, which could be via, again, I'm quite happy for you to talk about what you guys are doing there, which could be via things like, letting people pay in their own local currencies, or look for other alternatives. And secondly, I'm also sort of wanting to know, I guess, and if you guys are part of any programs other than Hack for Good, that, again, shout out to you guys for being a partner of us. And also what you're seeing in that underserved community, if there's anything that you guys have going on in that space. And if you guys don't, we are going to Nigeria and Ghana in May 2026 for the Hack for Good tour, and it's going to be amazing. We are visiting 10 cities and trying to reach 10,000 individuals who are at risk of cybercrime. So it's going to be incredibly awesome if I don't get kidnapped.
And the food will be good. You'll have good food again.
Yeah, absolutely. The food is always good. So what is SBT doing?
Yeah, I guess SBT. So it's a really good point you raised, actually, around like people often can't pay in Stripe or local currencies, and that's definitely something I discuss like internally, because I'm unsure. I'm not head of product. I'm unsure how the payments work for people across the regions. What I can tell you though, on platforms like Blue Team Labs Online, which is our like hands-on lab platform, I think we have like our second biggest like area that we serve is India. It's the second biggest area we serve. If I just look at the leaderboard right now. I'll just share my. Can I share my screen?
Yeah,
oh, nice.
You should be able to.
Okay, I can. Here we go. Screen BTLO. Do you see my screen?
Waiting for it to load. Yeah, that's popped up.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
You can see what we have here. I mean, United States is expected. But
nice.
We do serve a lot of areas.
I can see Australia up there. Aussie. Oi.
Like we have Indonesia, we have Egypt. So we have the ability to provide like, I guess, affordable content within like storyline scenarios that's realistic, that gives often, I guess, underserved communities who might not have the opportunity to like enter a role, find an apprenticeship in their local area, because that market might be underserved with roles that exist. And instead, what you could do is you can come in and you could play investigations that we build to be as close to the job as possible. And then these are things that these people can speak about in interviews. And we make it accessible to people across the globe, like through those means. So that's probably the best way I think I can give as to how we can serve underserved communities right now. And then obviously within our Security Blue Team platform, in eLearn, we have numerous languages. So we have, I will showcase that to you right now. Let me share my screen again. And this, I don't want this to turn into a sales pitch. What I want to give
that's fine, man. You are sponsoring the event, so I'll let you have 2 minutes of if a shameless sales plug.
Yeah. So I guess there might be a lot of countries where, like, for example, I know a lot of like African countries, like English might not be a first language, but French might be, for example, in various countries. So we have like various languages. So our content is served as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 9 different languages. So again, that's another way which is quite subtle, and it's another way that we can give people content that's relevant to them in often their native or a second language that's relevant to them. So I think these are probably some of the greater ways we do that. And of course, like I'll always speak about cost. I think cost is probably the biggest way in that we serve communities. We give people the opportunity to take part in practical training, and not just that, but take part in practical training and upskilling that also makes you part of the community. And that's probably one of the biggest pieces. Like, not only do you, when you play labs in any platform like Hack4G, Try Hack Me, have very similar communities, but like you have the ability when you join any of these platforms to take part in an active community, talk about difficulties, talk about challenges. It's only yesterday in our sort of BTLO Discord that I saw people discussing like interview questions for jobs, discussing solutions to labs, often meeting other people who have been through what you've been through. They might might exist in an unserved community. So it gives you that chance of having that networking and that connection that you may not have in your local area. Like I gained that connection when I joined the Air Force, and I had people who were around me who were like-minded. But if you're sat in a community that is underserved, that you often don't have the same access that myself or you might have, Sammy, for example, now, you may get that sense of connection, that sense of community from joining these communities who also play the content, people who've also had the same position. And I guess that's the beauty of the internet, isn't it?
Absolutely. I do agree. I think one of the... Yeah, keep going, sorry.
I was about to say, a real sidetrack and example I love to use is I used to drive home every week with my friend Ben. And in the UK, I'm not sure if you've been, Sammy, but you see the occasional person on a bridge who takes pictures of lorries. And I didn't... this is a real sidetrack, but people in the UK will recognise them. I didn't realise, but there's a specific company of lorries called Eddie Stobart, and each lorry has a name, and it turns out that there's like a really big community on Facebook for Eddie Stobart lorry photographers. Really random. But the point I like to raise is that these individuals across the UK would never have known there were other people who were into Eddie Stobart lorries until they found the internet and found other people like that. And it's probably a similar concept that we have within labs and the wider Blue Team community.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I think one of the things that obviously set you guys apart is that, you know, not only are you actively trying to break barriers for a lot of people, you know, in underserved communities and untapped regions, but you also recognize that you're happy to learn and make changes, you know, within the organization to improve a bit more as well. What I actually did learn quite recently that, you know, absolutely blew my mind is that typically when people say, you know, underserved communities, they think that I'm just talking about Africa and places like Papua New Guinea, Fiji, you know, Peru, Brazil, and whatnot. You know, it actually dawned on me that when we talk about underserved communities, we're also talking about our local community as well. Like, you know, places like Peckham or whatever it is, where there's a large concentration of immigrant, you know, families who might not necessarily be as exposed, you know, as, you know, maybe someone who is living in central London, who maybe have all that information and the connections. And like you said, it's all about knowing the places where you can get access to resources and information that can change, which could literally be the you know, the shift that you need as a young person to be able to go forward and do some incredible work. So, all right, moving past that, like I'm quite keen to sort of know, obviously, what does the future of cybersecurity look like? You know, if we ignore AI for a second, from a you know, SBT point of view, I know AI is like your source for. It's like, Sammy, do not say AI one more time.
Let's ignore the elephant in the
room. Where do you see this space going? Like, you know, what do you think the next 5 years is going to look like? You know, what job roles do you think is going under the you know, the chopping block, and what new roles do you think is coming up?
I think a lot of people seem to think the market is getting saturated. I don't think it is. I think the expectations of entrance is just increasing with the access to access to information for newcomers, cybersecurity increases. What that directly means is that like access to jobs and the expectations of what they have for you in those jobs is also going to increase. If you have more information at your disposal, they expect you to retain more of that information. It's just, if you throw enough shit at the wall, like more of it will stick, and there's more shit to throw. It's probably the best way to explain it right now. And that shit can now be thrown more effectively with things like the elephant in the room, which is AI. Yeah. But when I see the market going, it's something we discuss internally quite a lot. I see the SOC analyst role, I see that changing like quite substantially.
Yep. So if you're a SOC analyst right out there, please, you know, listen carefully.
I always like to describe it. If I was to build a SOC tomorrow, like what would I do? How would I build it? And in an ideal world, I'd build it so your analysts aren't just analysts, but they're also like competent engineers. They understand the engineering principles. They understand how to build systems, how to build networks, how to break things. So I think what that gives you is a much more effective analyst. slash engineer. If I was to add instant responders to that mix, a big question mark I had, like, look, I did cert at Vodafone Group for quite some time. Honestly, like, when there wasn't an instant, like, occasionally, like, I swear, like, instant responders occasionally would sit on their thumbs and just sort of twiddle their thumbs. If there's no IRPs to build, there's no playbooks to do, you'll sit on your thumbs. And if I was to build a SOC tomorrow and add instant responders to a little recipe, I'd be questioning, well, what are you guys doing whilst you're not responding to instance?
Yeah, when there's no fire burning. Yeah,
when there's no fire burning, how are you helping us prevent fire starting? Is essentially what I'd be asking. Like, what proactive work can you do? Whether that's writing an instant response plan, whether that is taking part in some detection engineering. So I somewhat see the silos of roles that exist in the defensive space almost being removed. Like, the silos of roles somewhat being removed, and people being much more flexible. Roles that are somewhat dual hat, and roles that aren't built with the guardrails that we had in traditional SOCs. Like, I'll be open honest, the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, like, SOC analyst, like, progression path within that's traditional. I'm not a big fan of that, because I think it often doesn't give people the flexibility to thrive and be as creative as they need. So I see that changing quite drastically in forward-looking organisations, but potentially staying in organisations that are maybe a little bit more traditional and have much more money to spend. We both know money is now expensive, so people can't afford to hire as much. Like, when interest rates are low, people will hire more and they'll be much more flexible with their money, whereas now people want more out of that. So I see that probably affecting the market. Honestly, in my opinion, probably a little bit more than AI does, but that's just my my opinion on how the market looks.
I was gonna say, money. There's money if you can put a .ai at the end of your name. Did you hear of the company in? I think I forgot the name of the organization. The company in India that was an AI company that was pretty much just software engineers in the back end. That's just responding. What is their name again? I've forgotten.
That happens a lot, though. I bet that happens a lot. It's I swear, it's the equivalent of what happened in the Amazon shops. Didn't they figure out? And I may be wrong here. And please, if this is fake news, please tell me. But I may be wrong. But from what I heard, that in the Amazon shops, weren't people just watching videos, and there wasn't actually technology supporting it? I don't know if I was correct or not. Let me Google that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's the equivalent, isn't it? There's a promise of technology, but what's actually underneath it is not that.
Now that's awesome, mate. Look, while you search that, I'm going to throw this one at you. Like, I think one of the things that I definitely do think is that you're right. The average cybersecurity role as we know it would have to evolve, and I think I think this is probably what you're trying to say is that the average cybersecurity role will be expected to do more with little. But the thing that makes me wonder is cybersecurity is quite notorious for being a very stressful and high mental health, to sort of career. What does that do to people who are already burning out, right? If a CISO is coming to you and saying to you, "Hey, by the way, I know you're an incident responder," who, by the way, if there's an incident, you're probably going to be working in 150-hour weeks, no sleep. But now you're also expected to be a security engineer and this and that. Like, surely there is going to be a mental toll. Like, at some point, we're going to need to talk about what about the impact to the human, in all of this, right? And if you've obviously got anything to say about that, I'm quite keen to hear your opinion about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked 35 plus hours straight when I was doing incident response. It was very tiring, also very exciting. And what I think is you highlight by IR is that, look, if you're at a company and you're getting breached like every single day, and your instant responders are working around the clock every day, there's something going wrong that is outside the instant response life cycle. That's a conversation for a future day. And the work that you'd put in the time you're not responding to instance as an engineer should be built to assist you in that IR process. Like, I can tell you for a fact, when I responded to instance, you often spend 6-7 hours. Like, back in the day before like XDR was a massive thing and you could roll out sort of Cortex across the enterprise, you might spend 6-7 hours figuring out how to collect evidence. That 6-7 hours is wasted. If you can churn that time down, that definitely helps you. But you need buy-in. You need like any seniors listening. Make sure you buy into the problems that your team have, and don't just fight fires. Because when you just fight fires, that's when burnout can happen. I think within consultancies, it's probably more prevalent. Because billability is the big thing. So people,
the minimum billable hours.
People will be questioning, well, why are you making us more efficient? We can build them more. Like, that's what people might question sometimes. But within consultants, it's probably quite a different story, and I think a lot of like low cost, more sort of SMB based consultancies like Huntress exist out there. That I don't know their hourly rate, but I assume it's somewhat less than like a CrowdStrike or a TrustWave where I was. So I think the market is changing, and I don't think the expectation of like engineering is new, because even when I was doing instant response before AI was a massive thing, and when there wasn't like detection engineers weren't quite as common, or just security engineering in general, I definitely think the people that were around me who had engineering skill sets had a much higher ceiling and much better understanding of systems, and therefore the response would be more practical. It would be more efficient. They'd get to grips with what's happening quicker.
Yeah, and I think you're right. But here's what I'm getting at is, because the whole thing about AI, and again the elephant in the room, is that a lot of people are saying that now you can do the work of two people as one person. Now for a normal, I don't know, clerk type role where you can sort of automate a lot of the stuff that you do, maybe yes, but for cybersecurity, where there's literally, I tell people that in cybersecurity, there's no playbook for anything. Like almost like every single time you have to pick up a new task, you're always going back to the drawing board and learning all over again to figure out a way to solve the problem, right? So, and I don't think AI is going to do anything to help solve that problem. Maybe you might be able to Google faster.
I mean, I think you have to set expectations of who you're working with. Like, and the expectations you can set are, look, like we can automate more, we can automate faster. It can amplify like basic tasks. And what you might get rid of in the incident response roles is like low-hanging fruit tasks, things that can be automated. And we probably did these with Python or something before anyway. You would always try and automate things if you have an engineering background. So I think low-hanging fruit tasks often will be removed. And I don't think, I'm of the opinion that AI, the goal of AI is to make the simple things faster, more efficient, so you can focus on what a human needs to focus on. But you still have to review the outputs. You can't just take data and shove it into GPT and expect that to give you all the results you need. You have to build it smartly. You have to understand, as I discussed, engineering concepts as to how you can implement that. Because if not, you'll undersell yourself. You'll get things wrong. You'll have too much faith in what AI is delivering. And it's just like any other tool. And I put a post on LinkedIn the other day, essentially saying, look, AI isn't making the market easier to enter. It's making it harder to enter, in my honest opinion, because it's just another fucking thing to learn. Sorry about my language there, Sammy. It's just I get all riled up when I talk about AI. It's just another thing to learn. And man, like, I'm gonna be honest with everyone listening right now. Like, I don't understand like under the hood like machine learning models, because that is some big brain shit. Like that is, to understand that and learn that is so comprehensive. So like, I don't think expectation is for cybersecurity professionals to really, especially junior, to really understand how like machine learning and models and AI really functions. But there should be an understanding as to how to make use of that tool. Like if I tell you, okay, how does CyberChef work under the hood? Me and you don't know. Maybe you do, Sammy. I don't know. But it's the same with AI. Like under the hood, it's somewhat of a black box, isn't it? And I think when people realise that, it's another tool that you can add to your sort of toolbox that you can make use of, and it's a tool that can make you much more efficient. But I don't think there should be any expectation for juniors to like comprehensively understand machine learning models, because they're not junior, if that's a role.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And I guess for anyone who's out there listening right now, you can rest assured that because according to Sam, who's like the big boss in cybersecurity, right, your job is probably safe for the future. But Sam, the question I've got, obviously, in your role and capability, you get the privilege of designing what the future learning content in cybersecurity would look like, right? And some of the stuff you're working on right now, I'm sure is going to be used for the next 2 to 3 years. So, which means you're often having to think into the future. So, if I can maybe bring you back a little bit to someone perhaps who's maybe starting out in cybersecurity right now, who's just heard about cybersecurity, super excited and wanting to get in, you know, can you give us maybe a step-by-step guideline? Not quite just an advice, but how would you approach it, and what would you tell someone who started out in cybersecurity right now? You know, again, elephant in the room says you can literally just use AI to do everything, right? ChatGPT, everything. What would you say to someone who's starting out, and how can they make use of the technology without making it be something that forces them to lose the edge?
I think if I was to start now, as hard as it would be, I'd probably say avoid GPT. Like don't touch it.
Interesting.
As much as you can. As I think, like one thing, like, I look at my learning background, and if GPT existed, like, look, I'd have probably been lazy sometimes, and I'd have probably used it. And what I would do is focus on the fundamentals. Like I always think of like learning cybersecurity as like there's almost pillars under the house, or there's like a foundation you need to build. And if you build a really good foundation, the potential of like how much that house can grow, what you can add to it, it's sky high. If you build a really shit foundation, it's a little bit lower. You have to go back and relearn some things. That you have to go back and change pieces. So my advice to anyone is the same advice I'd have given 5 years ago. It's the same advice I'd given 6 years ago. And I think it's the same advice I'll give when I have really grey hair and I'm still working in cybersecurity 10 years from now, because we don't retire till we're 90 in the UK anymore. I would say, like, learn the underlying principles, like understand networking, understand computers, pick up some scripting languages, understand how Windows works, and things that have changed a little bit. Like when I say Windows, like back in when I first entered it, I focus on Active Directory. Now it might be that you focus on identity-based authentication instead. But that'll be normal to these people because they're entering right now, and that's what's currently relevant. Whereas when we first entered, Sammy, I think it was things like AD instead. So my advice to anyone entering right now, it isn't overly complex. It's don't jump like 4 steps ahead. Like get to grips with the basics, and those basics are underlying principles, networking, computers, how they work, AD, identity-based authentication. Get to grips with the basics of cloud, which isn't, again, I don't want to put like cloud down. Again, it's not overly complex to understand the really underlying principles of that. That would be my advice to anyone who enters right now. What are your thoughts?
Thanks for sharing that. I think you're absolutely spot on. Like, I think you and I were talking about this, earlier. I think it was yesterday. And one of the things I think a lot of people, misunderstand is that AI gives you the illusion that you are understanding and learning something when you're using it, especially for the early days when, you don't know anything about the new topic. And I think I probably second what you're saying is run as far away from any, ChatGPT or GPT or LLMs as possible. Run to the point, there's an African saying that you run so fast that your heels are touching your your scores, because that's literally the worst thing for you to be doing right now. You are supposed to be failing and struggling. That's part of the learning. And when I hear people say that, it's so like I can't figure it out, I'm like, that's okay. It's okay to not know how to figure it out. But it's literally the process of falling into rabbit holes and coming out of rabbit holes and falling into more rabbit holes and coming out of those rabbit holes that you learn. And the example I often give people is this, like, you might be doing a lab on Silent platform or the security blue team platform. And that lab is supposed to be teaching you about, something as simple as, I don't know, how to, SSH. But and then you try to SSH and you realize that, oops, it's not using the default SSH port. Right? That wasn't what you intended to learn initially. Now you got to go figure out, how do I terminate whatever is using the original SSH port? You do a bunch of Googling and learning all of those things. And it turns out that when more research has been done into this, that the human brain actually learns more when there are obstacles along the way, and not when everything just comes easy. So I definitely 100% agree with you that if I was someone who's starting out in cybersecurity right now, I would run away, literally as far away from any AI tool as possible. Go through the struggles, and I actually think it's fun struggles. Like, you will remember those days with fun memories.
I bet top dollar that, like, since GPT has come around, the use of man on Linux has reduced like 80%. I bet any money. I bet any money. Like the problem you have is that people are on the keyboard and they're like, shit, what's that switch for that? And they'll go to GPT. Just use man. Use what's in front of you and like try and make use of those tools, because you may end up working like in an organization where you're in a server room, you might be working on air gap systems. You might not have your phone with you, and you can't access GPT. What do you do then?
What do you do
about that worst case scenario? You can't access Google, so you have to leave the room. You have to. I mean, I've probably got somewhere in my office like blue team field manual, red team field manual. Like those are.
Yeah, I think I've got 2 of those. Yeah, I've got those. Amazing piece of booklets.
Yeah, and I think getting to grips with that, and I don't think learning's changed really, has it? It's like the access to information has become faster because of like applications and because of things like AI. But I think giving people the ability to learn in the same way myself and maybe you did, Sam, is still really, really solid. I don't think that has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Ren. Ren obviously is commented on LinkedIn saying, learn the basics well and the rest will naturally follow, right? And I do agree with that. So shout out to you guys. Definitely do not forget to, contribute to this conversation in the comment section, like Ren, Reese and Rahib has just done. So definitely go ahead and add your comment in there, whether you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you've joined this awesome conversation from. I've learned a lot from Seb, right? When someone at Seb's level is telling you to learn the basics, you know that you are definitely not anywhere far away from, so you're doing the right thing. If you're learning the basics right now, you're learning the basics of Linux command line, the Windows command line, how the operating system functions, the basics of how, DNS, the basic TCP/IP protocol work. You are doing the right thing. Do not skip that process. So go ahead and comment in the comment section. Add your questions if you do have any questions for Seb, because we're going to soon get into that quite quickly. Look, I think this has been a really, really productive conversation. I guess the last question I'm probably going to ask you, maybe last 2 questions, because I'm looking at the time now and it's going really, really fast. If you were in my shoe and asking this question, what question did I not ask you that you felt like, you know what? If somebody had asked me this, I would have probably, poured out. There's this saying where you say pour out. So what do you think I've missed in this conversation?
Something I speak about a lot with people is like cybersecurity interviews, and I guess a question that I know I've been asked quite a lot in the past is like, what do you feel like is a good interview process? How can you give people the best ability? And this is a message to all the hirers, I guess, out there. Somewhat try and interview so they're practical. Try and give people the best possible best opportunity to showcase their skill sets, and don't just have question answers. Have really open-ended answers. And then to everyone who is applying for jobs and they're going to interviews, try and understand not just question answers, but how you can expand on that and make them as open as possible. Go into as much detail as possible. The question that I've been asked on numerous interviews is you open your browser and you type in security blue team, security blue.team. Okay, what happens? And then talk through that process. Make it really open-ended. And if you can answer that, and if you can draw that out, and if you can get a whiteboard and draw out that process, then the chances are you probably understand things like DNS comprehensively. You probably understand networking comprehensively. If you draw out those conversations. So if you are practicing for interviews or getting ready to go for a job, maybe ask yourselves those open-ended questions and draw it out. Diagrams, man, are the way forward. That's probably the something that I like to go into quite a bit, because it's something I'm quite passionate about. I'm at one of my pet peeves. I have loads of pet peeves, Sammy. You're probably getting to grips with that right now. One of my pet peeves is just interviews that don't give the people interviewing the best opportunity possible to showcase their skill set. And question answer interviews, just they aren't the one. They aren't the one at all.
Yeah.
You want to make sure it's open ended and people can showcase their viewpoints, and it may be different to yours, and the answer might be not what you wanted, but it might still be a good answer, and that's something I feel quite passionate about.
I do agree with that, and shout out to all the hiring managers who obviously connected to myself and Seb. I know all of you guys are just hiding away there, probably trying to close the end of the year books. I'm trying to figure out how to give it. Seb, I don't know if this is actually the same in the UK, but here in Australia, November is typically the year that you have to go through the REM, which is reviewing people's pay and figuring out how much you're going to give them. I always find that quite fun because that's where you're basically pinching 1% for this person. Oh, that guy was really good last year. He helped us out. That's 2% for you. So for all the hiring managers out there who are obviously looking for top talent, I think what you said is absolutely spot on. Take the time to actually hear the person's out rather than asking them open-ended yes or no question. Maybe ask them, explain, or can you take me through the process? Show me how you would do this. And I think that's a really good way to really, sort of dig deeper into what someone knows rather than, waiting for them to sort of know the talking points of typical interviews. So that's a really, really good one. So, thank you so much for bringing that up. So, guys, I think you guys are probably wondering with myself as well. I'm wondering, where did the 1 hour go? Like, just... I think there needs to be a part two. There needs to be a part two of this. Like, we absolutely need to go through this. So I'm going to quickly take the last 5 minutes to sort of show you guys what we're building, what is happening over the next few weeks. So if you're not already aware, so the Hck4G Con and CTF is actually happening from the 13th to the 15th of November 2025. And the theme of this year is Hack of No Nation. And if you want to know what that is actually referring to, go forward right now, go to Humanitics and register for the conference day. Now, if you want to partake in Pepper Teaming focused CTF, which is 100% free, you don't have to pay anything for that. And we have over $25,000 worth of prizes to be won. So we have players from all over the world. We have players from across Africa, the Asia Pacific, the Americas. I have no idea how do you describe them? South America, North America.
It's massive. There's so much
space. Europe and whatnot. So if you have not already registered, definitely go forward. I'm going to quickly show you guys how you can do that right away. So we have also just launched our buy one and gift one campaign. So again, if you guys have been listening, you would hear that we've actually talked about what it means to empower people in underserved communities and untapped regions globally, right? So what we're doing is we are actually running a campaign where if you buy a ticket for the Hck4G Con 2025 that is happening on the 15th, again, guys, remember the CTF is happening from the 14th. From the 13th to the 14th, and then leading up to the 15th when we'll announce the winners at the event in Melbourne. So unfortunately, we could not have the event in Nigeria and Ghana. We actually intended to do so this year, but again, due to green notes, or for those who are in the UK, due to financial limitations, which I'm sure is not going to be a problem next year, right? Because if you're there and you work for an organization who has the ability to sponsor or donate to Hck4G, definitely ask them to reach out to me. We are absolutely looking for sponsors, corporate sponsors and partners for our monthly meetups and also for the tour that we're doing next year as well. But I digress. So if you want to get a ticket for the conference on the 15th, you can now actually buy one ticket and get another one for free. So you can bring your mate along, your friend along with you for the conference. And if you want to just gift one away to someone who is in underserved community or untapped region, definitely buy a ticket and let our team know that you've bought one, and we can gift one and match that that generosity. So guys, we want as many people to be there on that day as much as possible. So if you're going to be partaking in the CTF, the 3 days competition, literally guys, all you have to do is go to ctf.hck4g, which is hack4g.org, and you should be able to just register. And once you've registered, you can actually join a team, or you can create a team yourself. So to be able to play, you do need to join our Discord server if you wanted to build a team. You can obviously do that online as well. So guys, we've got an incredible work that the team have put together for this event. The challenges are really awesome. You're going to learn a lot through it as well. So go and register. Even if you've never played a CTF before, you're wondering, how on earth do I play a CTF? And you've missed out somehow you missed out from our CTF bootcamp that we did last month. We are probably going to do another one of those next year as well. But if you've missed out on that, the video is actually recorded on YouTube. You can actually find that. Or we actually have a lot of beginner level CTF challenges for this year's CTF. So there is something for everyone, whether you're an elite hacker. Shout out to our partners in Nigeria, Ghana, Romania, and obviously shout out to Security Blue Team for making this conversation an awesome one. So guys, we've got an incredible work, prizes, an incredible show for you all. And if you want to know what the actual event day, let me play my my Nmap scan. If you want to know what the actual event conference day is going to look like, guys, you can literally just go to con.hck4g.org and you can see all of the different amazing speakers. That's good. Oh, look at that! You're one and only. Look at that dude. He's awesome. We also have Brett Williams as well. An absolute legend. Shout out to you, Brett, if you're watching. I know you were going to be here with us today, but unfortunately, you had another conflict that you had to be at. So, Brett, Brett is someone you absolutely definitely need to meet. I'll introduce you to him. He was supposed to be here today. We also have our other sponsors as well. Shout out to all of our other sponsors and partners who are without them, the Hack for Good Con and CTF would not be possible. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. There's a lot of good content that is coming out. The team and I have put a lot of effort into that. So guys, do not forget to buy your ticket and give to someone else as well. And if you want to obviously become a member of Hack for Good, you can do that by going to our main website, hck4g.org or hack4good.org. So guys, that was the quickest sales pitch. I think I'm just late by 30 seconds if my clock is right. So I want to thank you, everyone. Oh, there is one comment. So what are your thoughts on ChatGPT study mode, which doesn't give you the answer straight away, but answers questions and present challenges that contribute to the thought process? So Seb, I kind of want to give you the opportunity to answer this question. So you have 1 minute. Go.
I mean, honest answer, I've not used ChatGPT study mode. So I'm probably not qualified to speak about that, but whoever's made that comment, what I can tell you is that I will go into ChatGPT and I will check out their study mode and I will put together some kind of review for that. Maybe you can have me on again sometime and I can go into that in a bit more depth, Sammy.
Oh, I'm sure people are going to be stalking your LinkedIn after the powerful insight you've given us today. So you owe the community one to go figure out how ChatGPT study mode works and By the way, guys, ChatGPT, OpenAI is not sponsoring this event, so we should stop talking about them. But yeah, shout out to everyone who's obviously joined in and tuned in for the event. Guys, if you have not already spoken to people, this is a movement to disrupt cybercrime in underserved communities and empower young people in our local community here in Australia, in the UK, in EU, in the US, and on other parts of the world as well, Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and ensure that young people are making good choices. Like, one of the things that blows my mind is that we have the issue of scattered spider. And guys, if we have time, I'll talk to you guys about what are some of the things that is driving cybercrime even in the Western state that everyone thinks is wealthy. So guys, this is bigger than just money, right? There's a lot more to it, and there's a lot that we're going to be discussing. So we have two expert panel of cybersecurity professionals that are going to be talking and dissecting all things. And one of the title is how to make a cyber criminal, right? So how cyber criminals are made, and there's going to be a lot of fun-packed activities for the day. And lastly, we do have a cyber DJ who's going to be bringing down the beat so we can give cybercrime the boot on that day. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If you do have any more comments or feedback for the session on how we can improve it, definitely do not forget to send us an email at support. Send it to support at hck4g.org, or you can just send it to contact us at hck4g.org, or you can just go to our website and join our Discord server. You can do that by just going to our website and clicking on that little GitHub icon there, so the conversation can continue on GitHub. So Seb, what would be your parting final statement?
I mean, thank you very much for having me. It's probably part of it. Thank you, people, for listening to me. I know I have some sweet northern tones in the UK. The parting statement is keep learning, keep breaking things. And that is, I will always say, the best way to learn. So if you are doing that, then continue doing that. And if you aren't, and you're just going through courses or you're using things like GPT to try and teach you, then maybe try and go and break something. Try and go and build something from scratch and see how much you learn and see if that's beneficial to you. And I think that'll be my parting gift today.
Well, you've all heard it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much all for tuning in and for joining us. We appreciate your time, and we absolutely are looking forward to having you all on that day at Hack for Good Con, and also having you guys play the CTF challenge with us. So it is going to be fun from here. And next year we are even coming back stronger, and then you bet you that security Bluetooth is going to be there, and we're going to have this conversation version 2 all over again with the almighty Seb. So thank you all, and thank you so much, Seb, for your time. I really, really appreciate your time and what you've done, mate. With that, guys, peace out.
Cheers.
Cheers.